What if the secret to a really successful life isn't about these huge, massive leaps forward, but about something much quieter? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea that can completely reshape your future: how to design a life that actually, truly compounds. And this quote, man, it really hits home, doesn't it? Most of us aren't thrown off course by some giant disaster. Nope. It's something much sneakier. It's that feeling of being constantly busy, of putting in all the work, but then you look back a year later and realize you're basically in the exact same spot. That's the quiet failure to compound. So let's get right into it. Why on earth does this happen? We've all felt that frustration. You're putting in the hours, you're grinding away, but the momentum just never seems to build. This is the big question, isn't it? You're doing all the things you're supposed to, you're working hard, you're staying busy. So where does all that energy go? Why doesn't it seem to add up to anything?
And this right here is the key difference. The problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough. It's that our effort is often scattered all over the place, like trying to fill a bucket with a dozen holes in it. It's exhausting, and any progress is so fragile. But when you take that exact same effort and you align it, you point it in one single direction day after day, it stops feeling like a struggle. It starts to feel inevitable. It builds its own momentum.
So, what's the big villain in this story? Well, it's something we barely even recognize as a problem: interruption. We think of it as just hitting the pause button for a minute, but it's so much worse than that. Every single time we interrupt a process to chase something new, we're not just pausing, we are hitting the reset button and wiping out all the progress we just made. And this is how it traps us in this vicious cycle. It starts with a simple interruption. That means you see less progress, right? And when you don't see progress, what happens? Doubt creeps in. Am I even on the right track? And that doubt makes you want to change direction, try a new workout, a new side project, which of course is just another, even bigger interruption. You get stuck in this loop of constantly restarting, and you never ever gain real traction. Okay, so if interruption is the enemy, what's the antidote? It's a simple and honestly kind of quiet force called continuity. This is where we stop talking about the problem and start focusing on the solution. So how do we actually harness this power? How do we get it working for us? Well, it all boils down to just one single, non-negotiable rule. And here it is. This is the whole game. The most important point is this: before you worry about fancy strategies or life hacks, you have to first make a simple commitment. Do not break the chain. Protect your efforts from your own urge to constantly restart. I love this quote because it frames it so perfectly. You could have the most brilliant strategy in the world, but it means nothing if you keep interrupting it. In this context, constantly restarting and changing direction is the obvious stupidity that's undermining all of our best efforts. Okay, so we've got the rule: don't interrupt. Simple enough. But where do we actually apply it? Where in our lives does this incredible force of compounding really, truly work? And this is a super important question, because compounding doesn't work everywhere equally. If you pour your effort into the wrong things, it's just going to feel like you're running in sand. We need to know where our consistency will actually pay off. So here are the core domains. With skills, the more you practice, the easier future effort becomes. With your thinking, every error you learn to avoid is just as valuable as a big win. A solid reputation, that makes every future interaction smoother. And your health, well, that's the foundation that lets you keep showing up to do the work. Effort in these areas leaves a mark. This chart just lays it all out, crystal clear. On one side, you've got activities that build a real, lasting advantage. It's like climbing a staircase, where every step takes you higher. And on the other side, well, that's the hamster wheel. Those are the activities that reset every single day. You have to spend the same amount of energy just to stay in the same place. The goal is simple, right? Spend more time climbing that staircase and a whole lot less time on the wheel. All right, but this brings us to a huge challenge, a real roadblock. Our entire culture is basically obsessed with speed, with novelty, with constant motion. But true compounding, it demands the exact opposite. It demands patience and depth. And this classic Bruce Lee quote just nails it, doesn't it? Real power, real leverage, it doesn't come from dabbling in a million different things. It comes from focused, deep repetition. Depth, not breadth, is what creates true power. I mean, think about it. Speed looks flashy, right? It gets you a ton of exposure. But depth, that's what's durable. That's what lasts.
Depth builds real value that actually earns interest over time, while speed demands constant work just to stay where you are. And listen, this is probably the most important thing to remember. When you choose depth, the beginning is always going to feel slow. It's deceptive. You might feel like nothing is happening, but you're not failing. You're building the foundation. You're creating the conditions for growth. The visible results, the signal, that always comes late to the party.
So this totally flips the script, doesn't it? Maybe the real goal isn't to relentlessly chase and build something new all the time. Maybe the smarter play is to fiercely protect the things that allow compounding to work in the first place. So what are we talking about here? What do you need to guard? First, your attention. Protect it from being scattered by a million distractions. Second, your energy, so you have enough in the tank to show up consistently. Then, the integrity of your small commitments. Those are what build trust over time. And finally, your overall direction. You have to protect it from all those shiny objects that try to pull you off course. These are the things that fuel the engine. And this quote just wraps it all up so well. It's not about hustle culture and aggressive pursuit. It's about careful, deliberate protection of what truly matters. Sometimes, restraint is way more powerful than just chasing more. So here it is, the final thought to leave you with. Compounding isn't optional. It is always happening in your life, right now. Your habits, your relationships, your knowledge, they're all compounding, for better or for worse. So the only real question is, what are you choosing to point that incredible force towards? So once you've chosen your direction and you've committed to protecting it from all of those interruptions, you know what? The hardest part is actually over. The final instruction is the simplest one, but maybe also the hardest. You just have to have the patience and the discipline to step back and let the process do its thing. Let it run.